RFK Jr. reportedly began a push this week to get his daughter-in-law and former campaign manager Amaryllis Fox Kennedy named deputy director of the CIA, according to Axios, and this is real. RFK Jr. wants more Kennedy members at the intelligence agency because he hopes to prove the CIA assassinated his uncle, JFK. And honestly, great. Focus on that. Rather that where his attention goes than vaccine approvals. How did Lee Harvey Oswald get back into the country after defecting to the Soviet Union? And what was Jack Ruby's whole deal? Give him hell, Bobby. But first, let's get into it. What a week. On Tuesday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was asked whether he thought President Biden should issue preemptive pardons for members of the January 6th committee and others Trump might go after, and seemed to suggest that Biden needn't bother.
Look, the bottom line is we all know that Senator Schiff did a very, very good job on the hearings. He broke no laws whatsoever, and the truth stands for itself.
Wow, that must be nice to think about. I want to live in that society where the truth stands for itself. Sounds amazing. Adam Schiff sleeping soundly in his bed, taking high-speed rail to visit the Museum of Female Presidents. Schiff said much the same at the same press conference, telling reporters, "I don't think the incoming president should be threatening his political opponents with jail time, nor do I think that a pardon is necessary for members of the January 6th committee." This puts Biden in a weird spot. When someone says no gifts, do they really mean no gifts? Or are you going to look like a moron when you show up empty-handed and Kash Patel is frog marching Anthony Fauci and Jack Smith down Pennsylvania Avenue in full clown makeup? Pardons are like umbrellas and guns. Better to have one and not need it than need one and not have it. Benny Thompson, who chaired the committee, on the other hand, said on Thursday that he'd take a pardon.
You know, the president, is his prerogative. If he offers it to me or other members of the committee, I think I would accept it, but it's his choice.
Trying to put my finger on the difference between Benny Thompson, who doesn't believe the truth always speaks for itself in America, and Adam Schiff and Chuck Schumer, trying to pinpoint what their experiences might be that would teach them to maybe take the fucking pardon. I want you to know something. If I was on the January 6th committee, I'd be saying, give me the fucking pardon, Joe. Oh, it gives Donald Trump a talking point? Okay, I'm so sad that Donald Trump has a talking point while I'm sleeping at home with my family. Meanwhile, GOP Senator Joni Ernst appears to have yielded to a MAGA pressure campaign to support Pete Hegseth's nomination to be Secretary of Defense. But would he even be Pete Hegseth if a woman said no and he didn't hear a maybe? Meanwhile, CNN posted a Ben Shapiro interview Pete Hegseth gave in June in which he criticized the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Now you just have the absurdity of I have two mommies and I'm so proud to show them that I can wear the uniform too. So it's just like everything else the Marxists and the leftists have done. At first it was camouflaged nicely and now they're just open about it.
Gays in the military, calling your boyfriend instead of your roommate, the Bo and Yang renaissance on SNL. It's like, what happened to not rubbing it in our faces? Hegseth, of all people, shouldn't be casting scorn on people with two mommies. He has the one who writes emails about what a piece of shit he is, and the one that defends him on Fox News. On Tuesday, Trump announced on Truth Social that he had selected Kimberly Guilfoyle to serve as ambassador to Greece. Many have mocked this appointment, but that's unfair. This is a former Fox News personality. She has spent years looking at the ruins of ancient faces and pretending to think they're beautiful. The announcement came amid rumors that Guilfoyle and her fiancé, Don Jr., had broken up, with the Daily Mail publishing photos of Don Jr. holding hands with Palm Beach socialite Bettina Anderson. Look, breakups are hard. Sometimes you wait because you don't trust your own judgment. You worry you can't tell the difference between a person not being right and a person, like all people, not being perfect. That you have unrealistic expectations of relationships, that you apply your ambition, your vaguely capitalist and technocratic tilt towards efficiency and maximization to the unquantifiable sublime of affinity and companionship, while knowing on a deeper level that any relationship will require compromise and involve frustration, not only for you, but for the partner whose love can only be real and lasting if they see your flaws alongside your gifts and choose the bargain anyway. But because of your toxic combination of arrogance and deep self-loathing, you find it hard to imagine anyone you deem worthy finding that bargain to be one worth making. And so you can only foresee alienating relationships built on the fragile deception of hiding parts of yourself until the truth ultimately dooms your hopes of happiness, or a life of loneliness as you slowly lose the capacity to open yourself to love in the first place. And then your dad is like, what if we just sent that bitch to Greece? On Thursday, it's just a hypothetical, on Thursday, the Daily Beast published previously reported details of a sexual harassment claim made against Guilfoyle in 2018 by her former assistant, including one particularly upsetting instance in which Guilfoyle allegedly attempted to get her assistants to give her a massage on her exposed thighs. RFK Jr. reportedly began a push this week to get his daughter-in-law and former campaign manager Amaryllis Fox Kennedy named deputy director of the CIA, a position that does not require Senate approval. Somebody's getting greedy. Defluoridating the water is your treat for endorsing Trump. You get one treat. Whatever. What's one more Kennedy at this point? Put Jack Schlossberg in front of the post office, see if I give a fuck. Fox Kennedy worked at the CIA for over a decade, detailing that chapter of her career in a 2019 memoir titled Life Undercover, Coming of Age in the CIA. Good news, she can keep a secret. According to Axios, and this is real, RFK Jr. wants more Kennedy members at the intelligence agency because he hopes to prove the CIA assassinated his uncle, JFK. And honestly, great. Focus on that. Rather that where his attention goes than vaccine approvals. How did Lee Harvey Oswald get back into the country after defecting to the Soviet Union? And what was Jack Ruby's whole deal? Give him hell, Bobby. Elon and Vivek, approve his red string budget and let the man cook. President Biden on Thursday commuted the sentences of nearly 1,500 people who were released from prison into home confinement during the pandemic and pardoned 39 people convicted of nonviolent crimes. Biden should have just slipped Hunter Biden in with that big stack of names. Then he could be like, I pardon too? Oh, would you look at that? There's so many names, didn't even notice. That marks the largest number of commutations in one day by any U.S. president until he fully clears out the 5,000 bloodthirsty inhabitants of Colorado's Supermax woke trans prison on his last day in office. Oh God, I've said too much. Speaking of flying free, federal wildlife officials this week proposed that monarch butterflies be classified as threatened and receive federal protection. No, for sure, protect the butterflies first, said a jumpy Liz Cheney. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell tripped and fell after Senate Republicans' weekly lunch on Tuesday. Hey, did it hurt when you fell after the Senate Republicans' weekly lunch? A McConnell spokesperson said in a statement, Leader McConnell sustained a minor cut to the face and sprained his wrist. He has been cleared to resume his schedule as Fiyero in the touring production of Wicked, now at the Pantages. Speaking of wicked drama queens, Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, has opted to fight his extradition from Pennsylvania to New York. Can you blame him? It's not safe there. Dudes are getting gunned down in the street. By way of explanation, Mangione had this to say about the shooting.
Somebody touch my spaghetti!
No, that's not allowed. Can't possibly be allowed, these anti-Italian jokes, right? Put it in the comments. Is it allowed? I don't think so. What do you think? I don't think so. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Meanwhile, the internet has exploded with merch inspired by the killer, from t-shirts and mugs to Christmas ornaments and fake bullets that read deny, defend, depose. Look, I find this all pretty gross. A lot of people bravely posting to prove how radical and broken they are, while fortunate to live in a world where crimes like this are rare and shocking, because a disordered and chaotic and violent society is one that causes people to turn inward and one that benefits fascists. And if you enter the code LOVEIT at checkout, you'll get 20% off and free shipping. What the fuck? I'll prove that. In an interview with HuffPo, Elizabeth Warren condemned the shooting, but added the visceral response from people across the country who feel cheated, ripped off, and threatened by the vile practices of their insurance companies should be a warning to everyone in the healthcare system. Damn, Liz. About to create big structural change and some kneecaps. Said the Massachusetts senator, violence is never the answer, but people can only be pushed so far. She said that last part after backing her Subaru into a shopping cart. And someone neglected to return at the Target, but it applies here. Warren later clarified her comments in a statement to Politico. Violence is never the answer, period. I should have been much clearer that there is never a justification for murder. So if you were hoping for the rise of a menopausal Batman, the wait continues. Bernie Sanders told Jacobin on Thursday, it goes without saying that killing anybody, this guy happened to be a father of 2 kids, you don't kill people, it's abhorrent. I condemn it wholeheartedly, it was a terrible act. But what it did show online is that many, many people are furious at the health insurance companies who make huge profits, denying them and their families the health care that they desperately need. We are not going to reform the healthcare system by killing people. The way we are going to bring about the kind of fundamental changes we need in healthcare is, in fact, by a political movement which understands the government has got to represent all of us, not just the 1%. Bernie and Warren are trying to do something tricky, harness a wave of populist anger without condoning the violent crime that brought it to national focus. Look, I don't condone what the Hamburglar does, but he has reminded all of us that the McRib is back. And that's the conversation we needed to have. Speaking of angry Italians, New Jersey residents have reportedly spotted dozens of mystery drones flying overhead since last month, to the bafflement of government officials.
Tonight, an aerial mystery that's been described as unnerving is growing. The FBI now investigating multiple reports of unidentified drones flying over New Jersey, some as large as a small car.
Yikes. It'd be scary if it were happening somewhere important. Jeff Bezos assures the public that they were just witnessing the natural migration pattern of Amazon drones flying south for the winter after Cyber Monday. In fact, federal investigators said they don't know whom the drones belong to, but that they don't believe they pose a threat. Very reassuring, team. We have no idea who sent these drones or why they're here, but it's probably fine. Of course it's probably fine. We have to throw away toothpaste at the airport because of a foiled plot 20 years ago. You don't get to do it's probably fine. New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew suggested Iran might be responsible and called for the drones to be shot down. Said the congressman, the time to act on this information is now before the threat escalates any further. Whether this is a foreign adversary or even just a group of drone hobbyists, we cannot allow unidentified drones to operate freely in our airspace with no consequences. And you know what? Honestly, I'm in. Fuck it. Shoot them down. It's enough with the drones. What's the worst that could happen? New Jersey's biggest nerd is a little sadder than usual. Speaking of New Jersey-based nerds, Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer, who's running for governor of New Jersey, has admitted to posting a fake Spotify rap list composed entirely of Bruce Springsteen songs. What's next? Is gabagool not actually his favorite work snack? Said Gottheimer, this would be my Spotify Wrapped if I didn't share my account with my 12 and 15-year-old kids. Look, I was surprised as anyone to discover that mixed in with Beyonce and Muna and Taylor Swift and Carole King and Bon Iver, my #1 song of the year, and this is real, I'm going to tell you, was Billy Joel's You're Always a Woman to Me. It's genuinely baffling. It's not a great song. It's not even one of my favorite Billy Joel songs. I think it got in there because it must pop up in a lot of different 70s and classic rock playlists, and I think it appears in a Fleetwood Mac mix, right? So whenever I put on Fleetwood Mac, I get fucking You're Always a Woman to Me. And now it's my #1 song of the year. But this year, I also began a relationship with a trans non-binary person, which means my #1 song of the year, You're Always a Woman to Me, means my Spotify Wrapped is like a fucking J.K. Rowling hate crime. And you don't see me blaming my children, because I don't have any. What are you listening to? Nothing. Speaking of oldies but goodies, Dick Van Dyke said his neighbors had to rescue him from this week's wildfire in Malibu. Said Van Dyke, I almost made it out of the house on my own, but then that damn ottoman. Said the 98-year-old TV legend who turns 99 tomorrow, this is real. I was trying to crawl to the car. I had exhausted myself. I couldn't get up. 3 neighbors came and carried me out and came back and put out a little fire in the guest house and saved me. The neighbors hesitated at first, pointing out, no, he does this. He pretends to fall, but then he springs up and starts doing a little dance. You tried. You really tried this time, Jimmy, but I will outlive you, you son of a bitch. I'm going to win this, continued Van Dyke, referring to President Jimmy Carter and holding up one of 2 remaining keys he keeps around his neck. Weird. First of all, too close of a call for Dick Van Dyke. Who's not looking in on Dick Van Dyke? The fuck? Where was that 75-year-old son of his? He has a very old son. Speaking of clinging to life, a Pennsylvania couple who got divorced nearly 50 years ago will get remarried this weekend at ages 94 and 89, respectively. They divorced in 1975 and would not answer questions as to why it did not work out the first time, though the groom did say, "She was the first love of my life. I never thought I'd get her back." They both went on to have other marriages, and both of their spouses died, freeing up the couple for a romantic rekindling, which is your signal from the universe. Text that X. To celebrate, the pair are honeymooning in Corfu. Oh, I'm sorry, coffin. It says here that it's a coffin. They're so old. I hope they're happy. And finally, Ryan Borgwart. It does work. It is. You got to see it. That's so funny. The Wisconsin kayaker who faked his own death and seemingly fled to Eastern Europe to escape his marriage has voluntarily returned to the U.S. after 4 months and is now in custody. And yeah, by custody, we do mean monogamy. Am I right, fellas? Green Lake County Sheriff Mark Podol said that Borgward, who began communicating, they just had to see it on their minds, who began communicating with authorities last month, came back on his own because of his family. Said Borgward in his own statement, "No, seriously, guys, I'm mad at she." Here's my favorite moment of the whole saga.
Ryan Borgward told authorities he really didn't think they'd look for him that long.
Let that be a lesson for all of us. No matter how small or insignificant you feel, you are more important to this world than you know. They put divers in the lake. Also, your wife is fucking pissed.